Hey! It's a stick up. It's a stick up, my man. Dream it, believe it, become it. We're back. You know
Come
the
on
set.
down, come on down, come on down.
How you doing, brother?
Yep, I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. You know what I mean?
Bro, it seems like we ain't been active for a hot minute.
It's only been a week.
Because we're so used to seeing each other or speaking with each other every day.
Yeah. And, you know, we're touching on the show. We're going to have former WBO featherweight champion of the world.
Yes.
He's also two-time British champion. A lot of people forget that. Big up Steve Bailey up in the house. Colin McMillan just texted me. He says he's having trouble joining. I'm going to send him Gary's number.
You know he's old school. You know these old men don't know how to run this thing properly. Colin ain't from the tech age. But
yeah, I know.
He'll get it. He'll get it. Old type Big Bobster in the USA right now.
Yeah, I see Bob living life out there, you know.
Yeah, man, he's in the US of A.
Bob's our guy, very supportive man. Got a lot of time for him. Big up Steve Bailey. Yeah, I mean, always supporting the team. Baron Broderick.
Come on. Uzi Zan. The people are there, Spence. They will never leave us.
Never.
They will never leave us.
Never. The love's too real.
But we're going to have a great show this evening because, you know, obviously we'll be highlighting, as you just said, the one and only Colin McMillan's career, someone who I feel doesn't get enough recognition for his achievements, one of the smoothest, finest boxers to grace these British rings ever. British champion, Commonwealth champion, world champion. The guy was serious. The guy was serious. And one of the nicest human beings you would ever want to meet.
A very, very helpful man. You know what I mean? Helped me a lot. You know what I mean? Helped me a lot. I got loads of stories with Colin, so when we get him on, I got loads of stories to tell about him. And also, we will be paying tribute. I'm getting feedback on your thing.
Yeah? For me?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Still now?
No, not anymore. It's gone.
Okay.
And also remembering.
What about now?
No, it's gone. It's all right.
Okay.
And also remembering the great Marvin Hagler.
The marvelous one.
Yeah, the superb, undisputed world middleweight champion.
Yes, sir.
And it was at a time when, especially in his division, it was one champion.
No joke.
Right? And you took on all comers.
And how many fights was it before he could even fight for the world title?
It was ridiculous, the amount of fights that he had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What was that? That was 1979 when he fights Vito Antifermo for the undisputed crown on the undercard of Sugar Ray Leonard versus Wilfred Benitez.
The knowledge.
Yeah.
The knowledge.
I mean, no, that was what was that? I think that was November 29th, 1979. Right? So Marvin Hagler fights Antifermo in a hard fight. It was a hard fight, but Hagler won that fight. He didn't get the decision.
That was a draw, right?
It was a draw.
Yes.
Hagler, for challenging for the world title, got $40,000 for that fight.
Wow.
Right? Sugar Ray Leonard, who was the top of the bill, right, got $1 million to fight Wilfred Benitez.
Hold on. So you're telling me when he fought Vito Antifermo, that was the first time he was ever challenging for a world title?
First time.
And he had 50 fights?
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Lost two to Witchy Revenge to Boogaloo Watts.
Yes, Boogaloo. That's a big boy fight.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And Watts beats him, and Willie Monroe. Willie Monroe was from Philadelphia. Willie Monroe was also in Joe Frazier's camp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Willie Monroe didn't know idiot trainers. He was trained by Eddie Clark. You know what I mean?
He didn't have any relation to The Willie Monroe that Billy Joe Saunders broke up, is he?
Yeah. That's his dad.
Okay. It's his dad?
Yeah.
Come on, the knowledge. I know people's going to be looking at me like, bro, you didn't know that. But I know they never do that.
Yeah,
it's only the knowledge.
So, yeah, it was like, of that time, I just got, hopefully Gary let us know if you're trying to contact Colin now.
I just saw something come up on the screen as if Colin was with us.
Okay. I know Gary, our technical guy, is trying to sort it out. So, but like, when we big up Coach Martin Goodin.
Yeah, big up Martin.
Yeah. When we think about Marvin Hagler, the epic fights that he had, and they were epic fights. Let me tell you this year, Wilfred Cyprian, who Marvin Hagler bangs out, he brocks up this man.
Hold on, Spence. Don't waste out the show with too much knowledge right now. Don't waste out the thing because man, we're just warming in. You know, like first 4 rounds, first quarter of the fight, you got to touch a man and feed him out.
Nah,
that's how you got. That's how you got to be knowledge.
We got this done early.
All right, I'm hearing that Colin, the great Sweet C, is in the building.
Okay.
So, without further ado, you know what, Gary? Play the introduction first. You know the walk-in.
A very quiet fella. There's been no rubbishing at all. Directed towards the Italian champion. Such a calm fella, 26-year-old McMillan. Very relaxed at the weigh-in this morning and getting a great reception here. There's no doubt that the fans here in North London believe he is the genuine article. We've seen a lot of him on ITV and he's done everything that has been expected of him. But now he's taking the ultimate step to try and become a world champion. And he's never been in with a fellow of the caliber of the champion. Colin McMillan taking things very seriously. He's moved away from his home, spent a bit of time in a bed and breakfast and a hotel as well, leading a Spartan life.
Hey! I see Colin there brimming from ear to ear. It's like, bro, we just took him down memory lane. And on memory lane, he had a bottle of Heineken in his hand as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you. You heard the old Harry Carpenter say the genuine article. Led in the ring by Frankie Blue Eyes, Mr. Frank Warren. He was there then and he's here now. Ladies and gentlemen, the former British, Commonwealth, and WBO world champion, ladies and gentlemen, Sweet C himself, Colin, the great McMillan.
Good evening, guys. Good evening. Nice to be here.
You like that introduction, though, C?
Thank you for that. I'm very nice.
Colin, man, you've done a lot. You've done a lot in the game, and people, it's like, you know, the saddest thing is this. I'm just gonna bring it to the top. The night that you beat Maurizio Stecker to become the WBO world champion, that night there, I don't think no featherweight in the world would have beaten you.
Beautiful boxing.
Yeah, that was a good performance, I think. You know, all the years I've been waiting for, it all kind of came together. It was, for me, the start of bigger things to come. But unfortunately, the next fight, the shoulder injury came and things changed. But you know, on that night, everything went perfectly. You know, all the preparation was good, and you know, as I say, I boxed really good that night, and now it was on form. So it was a nice performance. I was happy with that.
Well, let me just relive that moment again, Colin, because you know me, I got more dub plates than Saxon Sound. Gary, play the tape of that Brilliant night. Come on.
Yes, McMillan's got it. 118-10, two of the judges. And the promoter, Frank Warren, actually objected to the German judge when he came in today. And he said that on the radio broadcast at lunchtime, that he was worried about the German judge. Well, after that, he may well have reason to worry. So that's Britain's got another world champion at the featherweight limit, with Paul Hodgkinson of Liverpool also holding the championship. This is the WBO version, and the jubilation understandably in McMillan's corner. But Jim, quickly...
Well, I noticed the little big man there thrust his hand profile. Tell us, how did it feel that night, Colin?
That was special. I think you know, when you're young, you've got a dream. You know, from very early, when I started boxing when I was 15 years old, you know, my aim was always to kind of go out there, try to follow in the footsteps of Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard. Go out there and you know, first become an Olympic champion, then become a world champion. I didn't get to the Olympics, but you know, to actually become a world champion, which I started, you know, as a child dreaming of. You know, it was a great night. You know, all the years of sacrifice, all the hard work, you know, all the people who had helped me along the way. You know, it was a special night. And you say I had some great support, and fortunately, I had some good people around me, so I was able to achieve my dream and, you know, become a world champion, and, you know, put something which can never be taken away from me.
Spence?
The Maurizio Secca win, I want people who are listening, they don't know how good that win was. Right? What was he? He was something like 2 fights with 1 loss.
Yes.
Right? And his loss, it was against, what was it? He got stopped by a Spaniard, innit?
Espinoza, I think it was. Yeah.
Espinoza. He got stopped by Espinoza, but he's rocking with Espinoza. He gets stopped in 7 rounds. But then he comes back again and he wins the WBO title. And then after he wins the WBO title again, he defends it, I think it's like 3 or 4 times. And then you get the shot. Now, what people don't remember is this, or people seem to forget, that I believe that Frank Warren's promotions owe a lot to Colin McMillan, or Queensbury as it is now, but back then it was Frank Warren's promotion, owe a lot to Colin McMillan, because at that time, you know what I mean, there was an assassination attempt on Frank Warren's life. Frank Warren spoken openly about it. He says about it in his book as well that, you know what I mean, like he had backers in, he had London Arena, he had this, and they were trying to pull away from boxing and all the rest of it. And he didn't have no come out star at that time. You were the person, because I remember being ringside for a couple of your fights when you put on the undercard of Gary Schwartz versus Derek Warble.
Come on.
Right? I was at that fight. So I was at that fight covering, I was only 15 then, but I was covering it for Boxing Monthly, because Boxing Monthly, they gave me a Saturday job. They said, just like a kid that knows boxing, and they gave me a Saturday job. I went there for work experience from school. And I remember 1989, they were doing the profiles of the fighters and the profile of you. And I looked at you, I said, right, this guy looks like Sugar Ray Leonard. Because facially, again, you used to look like Sugar Ray Leonard. You know what I mean? And I was like, right, I'm going to start following this guy. I was like, and I'm just reading up, and then I remember going to see that fight. I remember you boxing the kid from, oh man, he was from Marcel
Herbert.
Marcel Herbert. See, I'm doing this for my head top. I'm not doing it for wrong.
The knowledge.
Yeah, Marcel Herbert. And I remember you boxing him. I was with my cousin Donald, because me and him went to the fight, because like they gave me 2 ringside seats. I remember going to the fight till I'm only then, I'm what, 16. I'm going to the fight, and I've gone to the fight. It was at London Arena, and I've sat down. That's the first day I met Nassim Hamed as well. I remember saying to my cousin, "Now this guy Nassim, because we knew from when he like on the England squad and that, like he was just tearing up. Like, I was saying this you's gonna bust." And my cousin just looked at me like, "Who this little idiot kid?" I said, "Bro, trust me, when this guy can go." I remember watching Colin McMillan. What was that, a 6 rounder? But I remember round 5, Colin just laid on the ropes, and Marcel Herbert was wailing away at Colin. And I just knew you teeth the Sugar Ray Leonard move, the round 9 from Marvin Hagler. And you just waited. And then Colin just threw some mad burst. I said, nah, bro, this guy got some different skill.
Colin, what would you say, was your biggest inspiration as a fighter? Who was your guys that you really looked up to and tried to emulate?
But to be fair, the two guys really kind of got me hooked on boxing was initially Muhammad Ali. As an individual, I think he transcended the sport. He stood for so much more than boxing, and even for myself, for my parents, everybody else, he was such a major player. He was the person who kind of got me to think about boxing. As I got a little bit older, I started following a little bit more. Then I like Sugar Ray Leonard because he kind of like the same kind of style, hit and don't get hit. For me, boxing's always been about learning how to defend yourself. Making sure when your career is finished, you've got your health, you're intact, you've got your facial features intact, you can kind of go on and enjoy your life. Boxing's tough as it is. You want to make sure when you go there, you look after yourself. So those two guys were for me the epitome of that. And particularly with someone like Sugar Ray Leonard, he took it to the next level where he had a lot more control over his career. He had Mike Trainer, a lawyer looking after him, and he was able to have a lot more control. And that's what I kind of like wanted to try and do in my career.
You know that Colin McMillan was a pioneer for the simple fact that he was one of the first men to be self-managed. A lot of people don't know that. Colin was one of the first men to be self-managed and negotiate his own deals. And I remember at that time, who was working with you? Was it Bo Williford? Who was working with you? It was, yeah.
Howard Rainey, but I worked over in America with Bo Williford. But I think prior to me, I think John Conte had tried to, partly manage himself. You tried to do similar kind of thing, but I was quite fortunate where I had a journalist called Jonathan Rendell.
I remember that.
He became like my advisor, and he was really, really good. He was a young guy, forward thinking, had a lot of belief in my ability. And when people say self-managed, it doesn't mean to say you go out there and you've got to do everything. But all it means that people come to you certain things, and ultimately you make the final decision, and no one can sign anything on your behalf. And that's what it meant for me. So we had a great working relationship, and I was quite fortunate that he came along at that time, and we could work together. And fortunately, we both had a dream, and was able to go out there and fulfill that.
Fantastic. Well, first of all, let me just say that following the likes of Sugar Ray Leonard is definitely evident in your lifestyle, the way you speak today as a retired boxer. Very fluent. You've always been a good speaker for as long as I know you, and that speaks volumes because, as you said, many boxers, finish the game, and suffering from pugilistic dementia, and really nothing to show for their hard work and their sacrifice in the sport of boxing. But I wanted to go back, take a walk back into your career. Very early in your career, you suffered a loss in your third fight. And
it was a cut eye.
It was yes, but it was an L. And I just want to know, what still motivated you to keep going on and then finally become a world champion? What was it like, first of all, losing a fight so early in your career, and what advice can you give to these young people who put so much emphasis nowadays on a loss?
As Spencer said, obviously that fight was a cut eye. So for me, although it went down to the Alan McKay, I'd beaten him twice in the amateurs. I outboxed him and I stopped him on another occasion. So in my head, it wasn't a loss. It went down as a loss on the record book, but I never felt as though he was better than me. And sometimes, always how unpredictable boxing can be, and anything can happen. We just kind of like reinforced that desire to kind of go keep on doing. Obviously, I was quite good because I know a lot of time people put the emphasis on having an undefeated record, and that puts a lot of pressure on you sometimes. And where I had loss on there, in a way, sometimes people thought, oh no, this guy's never going to make it, and it kind of like makes it not easier for you, but you don't have that added burden as an unbeaten fighter. So for me, you know, I tried to turn that negative into a positive, and you know, we're gonna go out there. You know, after I lost that fight, I soon parted company with my then manager Terry Marsh, and it was a little bit harder because a lot of people see that L on your record, they don't do their research and find out exactly what happened in the fight or whatever, and they weren't, you know, as interested. But all it did is make me a bit more kind of like, you know, concerted, a bit more determined to go out there and you know, prove people wrong and do what I needed to do.
Spence?
That like I said, with that L, we knew about that L because I remember what year was it? Your fight with Nunes, where you was top of the bill then on Frank Warren's. Like, how many fights were you in before you was top of the bill? I'm sure it was like your 5th fight. You were top of the bill.
I think it was 6 or 7. I think I was top of the bill. Joined top of the bill.
You headlined on ITV. I remember that as a kid watching it.
Well, before that, I think I actually topped the bill with at the Broadway Theatre on the night where Frank got shot. That's when I first time we both topped the bill. And you know, quite a few fights after that. Obviously, I was featured on the ITV shows, you know, in the midweek, and you know, they were good platforms. They got, you know, great viewing figures.
Because I remember then, like, so many girls had a crush on Colin McMillan.
Well, that's why they call him Sweet C. Sweet C.
Seriously, so many girls. Like, everyone was saying, like, rah, oh, I love Colin. This is when I'm at school. All the girls, I love him. I said, shut your mouth, man. But yeah, the Nunes fight was when I remember Barry McGregor was doing the commentary with Jim Rosenthal, and I still got that fight on videotape, and they were just going on about how educated you are. You know what I mean? You working for BT then, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like how educated you are, how you're doing things a certain way. You're being self-managed as well. You've got Jonathan Rendell and Byrne. Like, there was just like the big up. And I remember like Barry McGregor was saying, okay, then he's not a concussive puncher, but it doesn't need to be for the skills that he's showcasing right now at such an early time. But I remember watching you in Henry Cooper's Golden Belt, mate.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, for people that
Henry Cooper come on Channel 4, and it was a competitive area competitions, and I remember watching Colin McMillan on that, and from then I knew, said, right, this guy's gonna bust him. I mean, Henry Cooper, that must have been about 85.
That's really young. I mean, that was when I first kind of got a taste for it. I mean, obviously, as you say, that program, it was different kind of regions, North London fighting Liverpool, Manchester, all over. And yeah, I was featured on there. I think my third or fourth fight. And I got the
amateur fight.
First amateur fight. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I want to explain to people because they might just go over their head. Henry Cooper's golden belt, yeah. Henry Cooper's golden belt was like the late great Henry Cooper had his own TV show, and it was like a box of championships from like East London versus the Midlands versus the West Country versus and then highlight kids right throughout. It was a big show that used to come on a Thursday night on channel. Not even Thursday night. It was like early Thursday evening, and that was like the highlight for me to go and watch. I'm about 10 years old then. I'm running to the TV to watch that, tune in, and like I remember, and that's big. Something like that, Tunde, they should bring back now, you know.
Yeah. Colin, as far as I'm aware, you know, your first title as a professional was your British title. Is that correct?
That's the first one
against Gary DeRooks, and you know, listen,
Gary,
yes, you know, again, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there would want to know the feeling of a young man attaining his first belt in boxing and a British one as well. What again? I like to go into the mindset of how you felt picking up that coveted Lonsdale belt.
Yeah, that was a special fight for me because obviously, like throughout the amateurs, although I was London champion 4 times, I got to the quarterfinals, the national finals on 2 occasions, and both times I lost a split decision, which is very, very close. I won both times, but I never got an ABA championship. So for me, when I won the British Championship, that was very, very special because people have said before, you're a nearly man, you're not quite good enough. So for me to go on and become a big champion, I submitted my ability and showed that, obviously, I'm championship material. Gary Drew, he was at the time a very dangerous fighter, very powerful puncher. And he was one of the guys that we all knew to stay away from. People always say, stay away from that guy from Peterborough, he's a bit of a bang. So, to go out there, to beat quite well that day. It was a great, it's a great achievement which I'm really, really proud of. And it kind of put me in good stead, for the rest of my career.
Yes, sir. And nowadays, obviously, what's your involvement with the sport? I mean, are you training people? Are you managing people? I know you do a lot of charity work. I've been to a few of your charity boxing events, but in terms of training fighters, passing on the knowledge, are you still involved in the sport in that way?
Obviously, when I retired, I kind of got involved in management for a little bit. I was involved in the career of Audley Harrison, Terry Dunstan, Michael and Paul Bowen for a little bit. So I was involved in that for a little bit, and decided to kind of move a little bit away from professional boxing. But I've recently kind of come back into it. I'm kind of a mentor, technical advisor to 2 young fighters called Hamza Shiraz, who's the WBO European champion. He's got tremendous talent. He's undefeated at the moment. I think he's got the potential to go into the world champion.
Because the thing went funny.
Hamza Shiraz.
Yeah.
Hamza Shiraz. Yeah, okay. I know Hamza, and I know his dad. Very good fighter, good prospect.
Very good.
Looks the part. We can sell him. We can put him on the cover of GQ magazine. So GQ, if you're watching GQ.
So I'm kind of a mentor, technical advisor to him, and also he's got a younger cousin called Umar Khan, who's making his pro debut in the Featherweight show March 27th. And both of those kind of guys got loads of potential. So I'm working with them, trying to give them some input, mentoring them, trying to give them some technical advice, and I'm enjoying that. It's kind of they've got a good trainer in Will Jones down at Romford, and I'm down there just trying to help them out and trying to see if they can progress and kind of go into bigger and better things. And I'm enjoying that.
Excellent. Spence?
See this Gary Drew fight? People don't realize the masterclass performance that you get. Gary Drew, when I mean like Gary Drew is one tough back guy, right? With his dodgy haircut, right? Gary, Lucy, the skills that Colin demonstrated in that fight. I was at 6, what was that, 91, isn't it?
91, yes, right, 91, yeah.
91. I was at 6'4". The next day, going in, and the whole of the 6th form was talking, yeah, that guy, you see that guy? He's got his hair, he's got hairstyle like Spencer. You don't know that a pirate Colin hairstyle. Kobe Brown tilt to the side. Yeah, but you put the relaxing juice in it, innit, Colin? My hair was natural, that's still great. But yeah, the skills Colin demonstrated in that fight, it was like, because if it's kind of weird, because if you know Colin McMillan, you know that he's the most humblest person that you can meet. He's a humble guy. But it was like, you had this air of arrogance where you used to box that was nothing like who you are as your personality. That's not your personality. But when you box, because your skill level was just head and shoulders above the guys that you were fighting, and they were good fighters. Because when I mean like Gary Drew, he was a serious guy. Hook you up to your body. When he threw the hooks to your body, and Colin was just moving, picking. and poking and moving and throwing these fast flurries. Then he starts sitting down on the shot and start throwing. Oh man.
Well, listen. When you give your name, when you entitle yourself sweet, the boxing's got to be sweet as well. But Colin, moving on to your Commonwealth title victory against Percy Comey, and dare I say, Spencer, there ain't another family member of Richard Comey, is it?
Yeah, he actually is one of his people because he's from Bookham as well. Same place as Richard Comey. So they're most probably cousins.
Wow. But again, Colin, walk us through that night, becoming also, because I think it's an achievement a lot of British fighters, always strive for, having that British belt. That's the old school way, the British, the Commonwealth, the European, and then finally the world honors. So winning that Commonwealth belt, what did that mean to you that night, sir?
It was good, as you say. It's the next step. As a fighter, you can go through certain. And for me, it was going to the next step. And I quite like that fight because we took the bill, and it was at the Royal Albert Hall. It's got so much tradition there. To top the bill at the Albert Hall was something which I'm really, really proud of. It's something really special to me. And Percy Comey, I looked at him, and before the fight, I thought, boy, this guy's not going to last. I thought I'm going to be too strong. He looked very tall, skinny, very tall, very skinny. But another thing, you kind of like, it's always learning. You kind of realize you can't judge a book by its cover. You kind of respect everybody because he came in there and he was very strong, very, very awkward. And it made it a tough night for me. I didn't put my best. And he was a good opponent and deceptively, very, very, very good.
I remember when I came into boxing, they always used to have say this thing about Ghanaian fighters. They say if they're there after 2 rounds, you're in for a long night, mate.
Wait, you got cut in that fight, didn't you?
I got cut. Yeah, I had a cold. I got cut. So like, it wasn't one of my better performances. But I got in there, won the fight pretty convincingly, and moved on to the next one. Sometimes in boxing, you can't always look good every fight. Sometimes you just got to get through the fight, get the win, and then move on to the next level. So that's what I was aiming to do, and that was the second belt, which is opening doors, for the world level for me. So once I had that Commonwealth belt behind me, it made things a little bit easier. So I think we're moving in the right direction.
Yes, sir. Spence?
What was it like after? Because I remember, I know you spar a lot. Because I remember watching you spar down at the Thomas & Beckett with you and Duke McKenzie. That sparring, it's mad. I'm blessed I am to say that I've been around world champions from when I was a little kid, and those days, it was the accessibility of the last accessible sports stars, actually professional boxers. It's kind of changing now because everybody thinks there's some diva, right? But those days, I'm just a little kid. I could just walk down from my house in Kenton. I didn't have to jump on the bus or nothing. I could walk. And it was fun to say I'm going to walk and then they'd be sparring. They say 1:30, Colin sparring with Duke McKenzie. And at a time now, Dean Powell, God rest his soul, used to look after Thomas & Beckett gym. And Colin would come there and spar. And I remember I was on the train. I was doing my school project. I was on the train. I was speaking to one of my mates, Alan Miller, and I was saying, "Yeah, man, boxing it's alive again. This is 1989. Boxing's alive again. There's this guy, Colin McMillan. I'm telling you, he's the new Sugar Ray. He's the new Sugar Ray. Tunde, and I'm on the DLR. They just made the DLR back then. I'm on the DLR, and you know who walks on the train? Colin McMillan.
Come on.
I remember that.
Right. You know how gassed I was. Do you know how gassed I was to see? I said, "Oh my God, I was just talking about you, Colin. Duh. You must have thought I was a little mad kid there, get away." Nah, this guy, I'm telling you, look at him. He could be the new Sugar Ray. From then, I've been following Colin. I've been around Colin, and I got to see Colin the sparring that he used to have with Duke McKenzie to him. You see, it's terrible. it's a travesty that sparring was not filmed.
Listen, before I go into your work with in charity and the events that you put on, Colin, let me just say, big up Bobby Wright. Bobby Wright says, all the way in the United States, Bobby says, Sweet C, it's great revisiting your boxing career with you, Spence, Tunde, Gary. You've done it again. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the donation as well. Thank you, Colin. But yeah, Colin, tell us about this charity work, and when you do hold the boxing events, where the money's going, you know, and what charities you're really connected with, and the causes.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm doing charity work for about 14, 15 years. Originally, it started where I've done it once a year, a boxing dinner show for my old amateur boxing club, Barking, just to try and raise a bit of money for them, to try and help them keep them kind of going. And that was, you know, just going on for nearly 14 years. But over the last 7 or 8 years, I set my own charity. We go into various schools, put programs in schools. Some kids with disabilities, put programs together for those. So throughout the years, we've raised, you know, money for those, that charity, for Down Syndrome Association, the Dream Factory, kids with all different elements from that. So, and like, every year we try and choose a different charity, raise money, and try and help, you know, some kids who are less fortunate than what we are.
God bless you for that as well, Colin. What's the name of your charity? Well, I would have thought Colin McMillan Charity, but is there a name?
Yeah, it's the Colin McMillan Boxing Training Academy.
Right.
Fantastic.
And he got awarded he was in Buckingham Palace 2 years ago now, right?
I was honored in the Queen's New Year's Honours. I got the British Empire Medal, you know, for my work with children with disabilities and that. So it's nice to be recognised for that. Obviously, like you don't do it for that reason, but it's nice that people on the outside are seeing the work that you do. And as I say, you know, I think all of us, you know, if we've been lucky enough to succeed in something, it's always nice to give a little bit back for those people who are, you know, a lot less fortunate, you know, than what we are, and particularly like, you know, young kids and that. It's kind of something which is kind of close to my heart.
Yeah. If you had any advice to go give to any young guys, up and coming fighters right now, what would that advice be, Colin McMillan?
One of the things I always say to young kids when I go into various schools and try and talk, I try and always tell them to get a good education. You know, that's one of the most important things, because, you know,
can I just say one thing there, Colin? Sorry, I don't want to cut you because I've listened.
You just did.
But I'm going to cut you. What you've just said about the education is very, very important. You know, I was just watching a series on Netflix today, and, you know, a lot of the kids in America cannot move to the next level of sport or unless they get a good education. So the fact that you've highlighted that point, let me just say big up for that. But carry on, because, you know, it's good to show these young boxers that education is very key in their own developments and also after the sport. So sorry about that, but I had to highlight that.
That's lovely. I mean, as I say, that's so important. You know, so even if you make it, it's good to have a good education to know how to look after the money, how to manage yourself. And if you don't make it, you know, boxing is very, very unpredictable. No matter how good you are, I've seen so many fighters out there who are, you know, got so much talent, you know, got injured, got beat, things happen on the way. So you need to have an education so you can pick up on something. So that is one of the most important things, I think, for young people, to make sure you get an education. And I will say, it's not about listening to what I say or whatever. If you're educated, you can go out there and make up your own mind. That's what's most important. So one of the main things I try and impress upon young people.
Was that paramount to you, like, when you lost your world title? Well, I don't even like to say that, when you lost your world title, because in that Palizio fight, you were handily winning the fight, and then you popped your shoulder, so you dislocated your shoulder too.
Yes, I remember. I watched the fight.
Yeah, and as you dislocated your shoulder, then it was like, I remember you was carrying on fighting with your good arm, and then had to stop it. We've seen that happen before. We've seen that happen with Carl. It happened with Carl Thompson. It happened with Danny Williams as well. But they're big men. So they got body mass on them to, you know what I mean, that can kind of shoulder the injury, excuse the pun, right? Unfortunately, you're fighting at 9 stone. And I know, like, you never used to walk around fat neither. Colin was always in condition, right? You never used to walk around fat. So, like, how damning was that injury to you? And, like, how did you get out of, like, that kind of dark pit?
Well, you know what it is? When you're quite young, I think you don't really realize, you know, when you get injured, you just think, okay, let me have a few weeks off and I'm back to where I was before. I think at that time, I never realized just how serious the injury was going to become, you know, because when I look back now, I can see that, you know, after that injury, I was never the same fighter, you know, psychologically and physically, you know, something was taken from me. You know, as much as you're kind of confident, you think, okay, let me keep working, let me keep training, I'm going to get back to where I was. You know, the reality of it was that once it happened, that it's only a little thing. Sometimes at that kind of level, it's those little, you know, split second time which you've lost, which you'll never get back. And it was hard, you know. So I was mentally quite strong. You know, I thought, okay, I've still got the ability to kind of go out there and become a world champion. But looking back on it now, I can see that it was never the same, you know, after the injury.
Yes, sir. I mean, even after that, you still came back and again became the British title. And I remember we was also in a sign off, but we can keep on going on. I remember at the time, you know, after you beat John Joe Irwin, people were talking about the Naz fight. And you know what if that fight ever happened, Colin? What would it, how would it have played out? Because you know Naz was a bad man. But Naz was about smoking guys' boots, but you to me probably would have been one of the guys that gave Naz a lot of trouble because of the boxing IQ. But is that a fight you would have loved to have?
Oh, definitely. It's funny because like I sparred Naz years ago. When we went down to Sheffield, and obviously down in Sheffield, they only body sparring, you know, to your body and that, and we went out there, and as soon as we touched gloves, he came over, bam, and hit me in the chest, and like I smiled, and I thought, okay, and like we sparred, but one thing I say after that spar, I know he had a lot of respect for me, you know, I know he had a lot of respect for me, but like I always fancied the fight now because, you know, I looked through his career, and the guys who always kind of gave him trouble were the guys who could box. People like Medina, you know, all those kind of guys who can box and move, can take a good shot at the same time. Those are the kind of guys who kind of gave him trouble. So, you know, yes. I would have loved the fight. To be fair and to be honest about it, it would have to be, you know, the pre-injury Colin McMillan. You know, that version of it, you know, I would have, you know, the fight. You know, but you know, he's a tremendous fighter, and you know, he's a great guy.
Yes, sir.
You know, Colin and Naz share the same birthday, February the 12th.
Do you know something? It's funny because I was doing a bit of, you know, I'm a bit of a numerologist. I'm very into numbers, hence why my logo is number 9.
It's not numbers you're into, it's witchcraft.
But it's so funny that, you know, we spoke about this interview a week or so ago, and even before that, and I was looking at your date of birth today, which is the 12th of February, 1966. The marvelous Marvin Hagler has died at the age of 66. And the both of you are being spoke about on the same day. Now, it might be just a coincidence, but that number 66 is serious. You turn those numbers around and you get the number 99. So listen, you know, I'm a bit of a numbers man, but it's great that we're sharing tonight's show with yourself and speaking about the marvelous Marvin Hagler, who died at the age of 66, and a young man was born 12th of February, 1966. So Colin, listen, it's been fantastic hearing from you. Great career, an ambassador for young professionals. Always insightful, always polite, and always willing to give the best advice coming from him. Colin, anything in closing?
Nah, it's been great talking to you guys. You know, carry on doing what you're doing, spreading the word. You know, hopefully, as I say, it's always kind of great to see British boxing doing well, and we've got some good talent out there. So hopefully, they can kind of keep boxing rolling on, keep people involved in boxing, and hopefully, as I say, the young people out there, it can continue to serve as a channel where they can kind of go out there and you know, stay focused and fulfill their dreams. So you know, good luck and keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to say, like, for you, like, Cole, like, your best memory of Marvin Hagler, because I know, like, you've been around him. I've got a couple pictures of you and Hagler together as well. Like, I remember when he came over. I remember, like, did you go to the dinner that Danny Mardell put on for Hagler? I remember Danny Mardell.
I met Marvin a few times over here. I did a little interview with him quite a long way back, and you know, that's why he's when I heard the news today, like everybody else, I was kind of shocked and saddened. You know, a truly great fighter. One of the guys who, as I say, when I was coming through, he was one of the guys I looked up to him. Leonard, Hearn, Duran, and Benitez, those kind of guys, you know, kind of really inspired me. So you know, I think he's a great role model for fighting, because you know, one thing I always loved about Marvin was, you know, even when he was a world champion, he fought like a challenger. You know, he done things the hard way. He never kind of got no easy way. You know, I know he was a little bit bitter with the decision against Leonard later on in his career, but you know, that mentality, and that's what I think sometimes even for world champions, you've got to maintain that mentality where you've got that hunger, even though you're a world champion, you've got to be there, be hungry to keep, you know, what you've worked so hard for. And I think that's what he did so much for me. I saw how, you know, dedicated every fight he prepared like a true warrior, and he will go down in history as one of the greatest of all time. And you know, I'm glad to, or proud to say that, you know, I met him on a few occasions, and he was a truly lovely man.
And I think we got a picture of you and the Marvelous One. Gary, have we got it? Maybe Gary's gone to sleep.
Yeah,
but I sure we had a picture of yourself and a Marvelous. But I mean, that was a great way to speak about the Marvelous One, and it really leads us on to the second part of the show. But I just want to thank you again, Colin, for joining us, and we wish you all the best and all the success in all your endeavors from this point forward. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute honor to have the man they call the Sweet C, the genuine article, the one, the only, Colin Sweet C.
Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you. Yeah. Beautiful man.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Good guy. I mean, good guy. Moves on to our second part of the show. We're talking about Marvin Hagler. And we could keep this brief, really and truly. We could wrap this up in an hour.
Yes. All right. Well, Gary, I don't know if Gary's. I can
speak for 3 hours on Marvin Hagler quite easily.
Yeah, I don't know if Gary's gone for some Chinese or something.
But Gary, Remington Spa, you know what I mean?
Gary, let me see. Let's start it off with the Hagler Hearns. Let's start off the thing with that. Cause I remember that epic night. I know Spencer's gonna give us the dates, the venues.
April 15th, 1985. But if you want to start with Hagler Hearns, you have to say that's the greatest one round in boxing history.
Absolutely.
The greatest fight in history. It's not. It's the greatest one round in history. Because
that first round,
Hagler was on top of Tommy Hearns, because Tommy Hearns broke his right hand in the first round as he came out. So, but I want people to realize the night that Hagler beat Tommy Hearns, that Tommy Hearns there, right? I wonder if any other middleweight in history would have stood up to those shots. Because Tommy Hearns was swinging, bruv. He was swinging.
All right. Well, let's go back to that. I don't know what to call it. It was such a momentous occasion and a momentous night. Gary, have we got that?
Richard Steele is breaking these fighters very quickly. That's uncharacteristic of him. It's hurting Hagler because he wants to work inside. Hearns is smiling, but he's taking shots. Another right hand. Hearns turns his back, takes another right. Hearns in deep trouble again. Hearns is down. Hearns is down in the third round and on his back. And he's not going to beat the count. I don't believe. Tommy Hearns tries to get up. They've got to stop this fight. Does he get up? He just doesn't know. He can't continue. It's Hagler full of blood. Blood, no doubt, impeding his vision. Stopping under the third round after Hearns almost ended it on a first-round knockout. It didn't go very far, but it was a beauty. And Tommy Hearns predicted a knockout in the third. Instead, it is Marvin Hagler, and we certainly hope Tommy Hearns will be all right. He is still wobbly. What a shot. Instead of Hearns initiating wild early action, it is this man who, believe me, has gained any redemption he needed from the loss to Roberto Duran.
Jesus. April 15th, 1985, Nevada. What they did, what we didn't see is when, I don't know if it was Hearns' brother or something. He had the Jerry curl.
Yeah, he carried him.
He carried him, arrested him up on the.
He should never have done that. He should never have done that. I mean, that was seriously, that was adding insult to injury. You should never have done that.
That's too much. That was too much. But I mean, you just saw it there. What a fighter. This man, he was like Pac-Man. You know, he just
Yeah.
He just chew a man up.
Man, I told him I'm going to eat him up like Pac-Man.
He just chew a man up. But can you remember watching that fight and the feelings?
I do, because I went with my cousin and I went to Leicester Square to watch the fight in the theatre house.
Yes.
Right? And then they showed it again on ITV at 8 o'clock. April 16th, 1985, they showed the fight again in the evening, but I went already to the theatre. I think they paid like £15 or something to go watch it. And the crazy thing is this, is like I went to a couple of theatre fights, because those times you had to go to theatre, there was no pay-per-view in your house and all the rest of it. I had to go to the theatre to watch that fight. So at that time, I'm 11 years old. Right?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I was 11 years old, and it was in the hiatus of me then joining secondary school.
And straight after that, because we're moving quick. Straight after that, he broke up John McGarvey.
Bro.
So, Gary, play that tape. Play that tape.
As I said earlier, he'll be dangerous while he's falling down. And Marvin is doing a job on him now, Tim. Just taking him apart with short little punches.
Wings two over the top just for good measure, and he's got him hurt. He's got him hurt. McGarvey finally goes down. In the 11th round, he's more dead tired than anything else, and it's all over. He's just exhausted from the continual assault. Marvelous Marvin Hagler retains his undisputed middleweight championship of the world with an 11th round knockout over a game and exciting challenge from John Mugabe. Thanks to Tommy Hearns for joining us at ringside.
A continuous assault. 3 left hooks. No, there were right hooks. 1, 2, 3. Then a left and a right. This guy. And that was March the 10th, 1986. What a fight, Spencer.
Let me tell you this. John Mugabe was no joke.
No joke.
John Mugabe, went to the 1980 Olympics and won a silver medal. Yeah.
Yes.
He lost in the final against a man called Aldama from Cuba, right? Aldama famously got stopped at welterweight by Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yep.
Right? Yep. And then John Mugabe fights. This shows you how good Sugar Ray was, right? But then John Mugabe fights him in the final and loses on points and wins a silver medal. Turns pro, and he turns pro with the Southlands, you know that?
Okay.
The dad. He turns pro with the Southlands and Mickey Duff. That was a link up. But at that time, when John the Beast Mugabe fought Marvin Hagler, John the Beast Mugabe was 25 fights and 25 KOs.
Imagine. And I remember in the corner, I remember the corner man saying, "Come on, John, if you don't believe me, believe the father." But guess what? Hagler believed the father as well.
Yeah. Listen, the shot that Marvin Hagler, and now I'm gonna be fair. At that time, there, 1986, Hagler was slowing up, right? Because he famously won the title in 1980 when he stopped Alaminta, and there was a riot. There was a riot where they threw bottles. Right.
We got that, Spence.
Okay.
Gary, play that piece. The Minter.
There's blood all over the left arm. Hagler is fighting his fight and making it work. The mouthpiece out. Minter's mouthpiece out. Minter is hurt. Minter is ready to go. It's only the third round and Hagler is all over him. Fighting without his mouthpiece now. Minter has not been able to make his own fight. Now, the referee, Barisan, has the corner man. The fight stopped. It's over that quickly. The middleweight champion of the world is Marvin Hagler. That quickly. He fought his fight. When Minter tried to mix it up, he had no chance at all. Now bottles are being thrown into the ring and beer cans. And the corner people are trying to protect Marvin Hagler, the British fans. And that's in accordance with fan behavior these days. Tragically, the British fans are upset that the fight was stopped.
Don't play with the British fans, you know. Fam, we don't like losing, fam. Fam, that night was soured because the police had to escort Hagler. After that, they went onto. I remember after that they went onto the floor and there was bare feds. Sorry, police. there
was bare.
There was so many police officers around Hagler and his team. They had to get him out of the place. You know,
it was sad because Hagler said in a couple books, he was saying like the hurtful thing was like they robbed me against Antifermo, you know what I mean, about 8 months earlier, and then they didn't give me the dues of me being presented the belt in the ring.
Yes.
That really hurt him. He was bitter by that, you know what I mean? He was very bitter by that. And it was that time there was a kind of crazy time because Alaminta said certain geography things.
Yes.
Losing my title to no black man.
Yeah.
The thing about it is the first time I meet Marvin Hagler was at a dinner, which was hosted, I was on the table by Danny Mardell, my old sponsor, God rest his soul in paradise, he's a beautiful human being, Danny. And like we was at the dinner and it was Alaminta was the guest with Marvin Hagler, and Alaminta apologized for his comments. And it's weird, like not even a year. It's been not even 6 months since we've been about that, since Alaminta passed away, and now we're commemorating the loss of Marvin Hagler. And no doubt in boxing heaven right now, they can talk about the fights together, because now he's gone as well. I mean, he's gone as well.
September 27th. What was that? 80?
Yeah, 980.
Yes, sir. I'm the Tunde knowledge now. I'm coming up there with you, bro.
You got like another 20 years to go, but it's all good.
Yeah. No. I ain't trying to be no knowledge. I'm here.
You know what? Yeah, I want everyone to know this. Yesterday, Tunde studied Eze Charles for 8.5 hours. That's serious. That's serious. I know that's going to be encompassed in these fighters that he's working with. That's serious. So all these fish and chips, man, who thought there was all they was here was lying in the camp, you're going to find out what's going on now.
Don't start. Anyway, moving on to a hotly debated. I mean, I don't think Hagler ever forgave the boxing world for the decision that went against him in his final fight. Gary, we got some highlights
from Ray. Look at Ray Leonard. What a cocky kid. Well, this 30-year-old cocky kid, perhaps fainting weariness as he has a few times earlier in the bout, but also showing that psychologically and physically now he's in control.
Going to be interesting scoring, Tim. You know, do you like the plotting guy or do you like the flash?
Leonard busy on the rope. Hagler trying
There'll be no knockout. No knockout.
Leonard in the corner at the end of this fight, but on his feet.
I'm not lying, Spence. If that was a 15-round fight like the old days,
you know
Hagler
what?
would have stopped him.
It could have been a 15-round fight. But what happened was, right, Nas A knows Eze Charles was a bad man. You know what time of day it is, right? What happened was Leonard worked brain. Leonard got the size of the ring reduced. No, sorry, got it bigger, not reduced.
Bigger, yeah.
Extended. And he got the gloves changed. I think Hagler went Everlast gloves. Ray Leonard changed the gloves. Ray Leonard also he changed the distance because the WBC at that time was still doing 15-round fights. And he got that drawn down to 12 rounds. So at the time there, but we hear a lot of stories about it, right? And how and it did actually leave Hagler. He left him bitter. I'm gonna keep it 100. He left him bitter.
You know, just coming to my head. Wasn't it a couple of weeks ago I said get Hagler on the show?
Yeah, because some guy on there would say get Marvin Hagler. Yeah, I was gonna mention that. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago we said get Hagler, and I said yeah, I had to hook up for Hagler, and I spoke to his wife. You know. You know what I mean? I sent a message and I spoke to his wife, and remember it was a guy, Jason Reynolds, that said, yeah, he was on it. He said, yeah, get Hagler on. Because we said, who should we get on next? He said, get Hagler on. And unfortunately, he's not here. You know what?
No, he's here. The spirit is here.
Yeah, 100%. Because they were trying to make a documentary. They were trying to make a documentary on the four kings, Leonard, Hagler, Hearns, and Duran.
Yes.
Make a documentary. I know quite a few filmmakers that were trying to. Colin McMillan was trying to get that put together. I also know that Johnny also was trying to get that put together as well. There's quite a few people. And the one that was reluctant to do it was Marvin Hagler. He was like, I don't want to talk about this thing, right? But then at the time when Hagler was in agreement to do it, then Sugar Ray Leonard was like, I don't know if I'm going to go do this. And now it can never happen. You know what I mean? They can make a documentary about him. They can make a documentary about him. Top Rank easily could make a documentary about these guys because Bob Arum had the fight footage, the fight rights for those fights were all of those fights had nothing to do with Don King, except for the first and second Leonard and Duran fight. in 1980. Those two fights, because that was a joint promotion. All the rest of the fights were all top rank. You know what I mean? They were all top rank. So maybe they could put something together, but it would have been nice to have had them all sit down and talk, similar to like what they did for Champions Forever when they had Ali, Larry Holmes, who else was it? It was Ken Norton and Joe Frazier, and big bad George Foreman. That would have been that. That was made in 88. They made that. So it would have been nice to have seen that, but unfortunately, it will never happen now.
Well, maybe that's a lesson for these champions today. You know, when your career's over, let's not wait till you pass to start getting celebrating. Let's and while we're there, you know, we should do a special. And I know these little other broadcasts are going to try to teeth it, but we're going to do a special on Roberto Duran, Tommy Hearns, and Sugar Ray Leonard.
1,000,000%. Roberto Duran is quite easy to get hold of. In fact, you know what I mean? I think I sent you the interview that I had with Roberto Duran.
Yes.
Yeah. So we could run that up at the back. So we could do a special on him. We got a holler Sugar Ray Leonard. Right now, everybody be on Sugar Ray Leonard because of the pastor Marvin Hagler. Yes. It's a kind of funny one because that was a split decision.
Yes.
Right, it was a split decision. Still to this day, I watched the fight. I've still got Sugar Ray Leonard winning that fight. But also taken into it was like there's a lot of tangibilities. Ray Leonard came out of a 3-year retirement.
Yes.
Marvin Hagler, and this is where you know, like Leonard used a lot of psychology on Hagler.
Yes.
Because they were friends, you know.
Yes.
Right. Leonard opened a sports store. Marvin Hagler comes down, stays with his wife, him and his wife. They stay with Leonard and his wife. They open up Leonard's store. Hagler says, I'm opening up my own store in Boston, Massachusetts. Leonard turns around and says, yep, I'm going to return the same favor. He goes down there. They were friends. They were having dinner together. Hagler's telling Leonard how much he dislikes boxing now, and he can't get up for certain things and all the rest of it. And then Leonard's listening to all of this. He's taking all of these mental notes in. What Hagler's saying, he doesn't like the game no more, and all the rest of it. And then Leonard sat with Michael J. Fox, right, from Back to the Future, and they're watching Hagler have that hard fight against John DeBeese.
Oh, Mugabe, yeah.
Right? And when he has that fight there, because it was still a hard fight.
Yes.
Right? It was still a hard fight. And he's watching that, and then he says to himself, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I could beat Hagler. You know? At that time, he got this watching that fight, say, I know I can beat him. But Leonard's very clever. He did all of thank you for blocking that idiot, Andrew.
Well, you should even speak. You should even call him. You just block him.
Right.
But anyway, go.
It's because I saw Bobby Wright put block. And you're like that sunshine, right? So Leonard did use a lot of psychology. Leonard was a master manipulator, very very clever guy, right?
Yes.
Play a lot of mind tricks on you. He was that guy. Now, don't get fooled by that pretty face. And Leonard was a little demon.
Yeah, and you can see that. You know, he's a very well thought out guy, intelligent guy.
Yeah.
And I think it was Cus D'Amato said that when you got two warriors in there, the smartest warrior wins.
Exactly.
You know, and Sugar Ray definitely used his IQ and the psychology to get a mental edge over Hagler, and it worked. It worked.
And also it was like the sad thing in that it seemed to me that Hagler was always looking for validation.
Yes.
Right? Because he was that guy. Remember, Hagler's first pro fight was for $40, you know.
Yep.
Ray Leonard's first fight was for $40,000.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So even though Marvin Hagler was a national champion in the amateurs, AAU champion, he wasn't. You know what I mean? He wasn't engrossed to the people.
Yeah, he wasn't a money spinner. He wasn't a golden boy.
Yeah, he wasn't. But if you think about it, Marvin Hagler represents more of human life and struggle than Ray Leonard. Marvin Hagler would be the person who you'd think, right, I could have dared to more. You know what I mean? Because
the working class fighter. But that's
working blue, yeah. And I'm not saying that Ray Leonard wasn't, but
that's what I was about to say.
Very corporate. Well, I'm not saying right, but Ray Leonard became very, very corporate. I'm not knocking Ray Leonard for that because you want to aspire to get to where you're getting to, right? But with Marvin Hagler, as Colin McMillan said, would always train like the challenger. And it's weird how we turn around and say like, "Oh, Floyd Mayweather like is the hardest working athlete of all time," and all the rest of it. Right? I don't know. I'm not in the gym with Floyd. I'm not in the gym with Floyd. Yes, he trains amazingly hard. Marvin Hagler was, as his top would say, seek and destroy, because Hagler in later years walked with a deformed walk because when he'd go running, he would have logs strapped
the log
back. Marvin Hagler was serious. When Marvin Hagler would say, like, Marvin Hagler was the one that to the rest of the boxing world at that time, that we're in training camp. Like, he was trained by Goody and Pat Petronelli. Those guys, they worked in construction. They're Italian, man. But you know they're mafia links.
Hagler, I don't know what you're telling me.
No, I'm telling you, Hagler was the epitome of what Floyd mantra was hard work and dedication. Because Hagler grafted. And unfortunately, we are not proxying Hagler for a boxer. Hagler was a superb boxer, you know.
Yes.
Just watch his 2 fights with Mustafa Hamshaw. Excellent. He was an excellent boxer. The masterclass fight that he had in 83 when he fought Roberto Duran, which was a masterclass, because this is when you know that Roberto Duran was a bad man, because come round 13, Roberto Duran was winning on the scorecards. Marvin had to dig it out in the last 2. So when we look at Marvin Hagler, as people will say, like, no doubt, I would say that Marvin Hagler is the greatest southpaw of all time. One of the great. See, to say like for who was the greatest middleweight, I'm saying Marvin Hagler was the greatest middleweight in the 80s, right? There were some great guys around there, and it was at a time where you just had one champion, and Marvin Hagler reigned supreme as that champion. There was no arguments to say like who was the guy, because he cleaned out the middleweight division. Guys had to pump up themselves to move up, say they want to go fight Marvin Hagler, and when they did, he destroyed him. Marvin Hagler was a real deal, and that's how you put it down. He was the real deal, and it was at a time when they wanted to fight the best. They weren't sitting down trying to please no TV rights and this, that. They actively wanted to fight the best, and Marvin Hagler did that. So we have to props and salute Marvin Hagler, because he may be gone in flesh, but he's not gone in spirit. And like I always say, people only die, Baba Tunde Ajayi, when you forget them. How the hell can you be anything to do with boxing and forget Marvin Hagler? The man was absolutely lived up to his name. He was marvelous. Marvin Hagler, may you rest in paradise, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love that, Spence. You know what? Let's just pick a few of these questions, and I think we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
What do you think about that, Spence? So we pick a few.
Cool. Bobby Wright again.
Oops, what have I done there? Spence, who you training? You keep dropping teasers. Come on, who you training, Spence?
You know, you have to wait. It's gonna come out soon, Bobby. It's gonna come out soon, and it's not the train. I'm not. Tunde has to do that. You know what I mean? Tunde does that. You see, with me, you need in boxing, you need a motivator and a kind of spiritualist, like, because boxing is very, very spiritual. So it's that, but we got certain things that are coming out. They're gonna announce. You got about another 6 weeks, but before it comes out, I'll let you know, Bobby. But certain things are going on right now, and I'm like I said, I'm grateful. I'm also grateful that when I'm doing, people don't understand, when I'm doing the stuff on ESPN, I'm on the phone to Tunde talking through the fights, you know. I'm going out to like 15 million people in America on the ESPN Plus app, but I'm talking to Tunde, breaking down the fights as the fights are going on. So what people have to realize is this: no man's an island. I'm not an island. I'm being real. You know what I mean? And there's an old saying in Jamaica that 2 heads are better than 1. So, you know what I mean? And when you're around knowledge, it's not good to be the smartest person in the room. I gain knowledge from anyone. So, but something's coming soon. Don't worry, Bobby. You're seeing the signs, man. You're seeing the signs. Something's coming.
Gary, can you pick a few questions there that you may have seen? Who is the UK Marvin Hagler? Well, I think I'll ask that. You're not gonna have a Marvin Hagler, but somebody who, I always call him Hagler.
I know you're right.
Is Dan Aziz. Dan's got them shoes. He's got that kind of, I wouldn't say plodding, but he's very, very consistent in how Dan fights. I love him as a fighter.
How he fights.
Good fighter. And if you miss one day's training and you fight Dan Aziz, you're in trouble. Because Dan don't stop coming. He's a warrior. So yeah, that I would say Dan Aziz is the UK Marvin Hagler, if there is one. I don't think we'll ever have a Marvin, but the closest I've seen is a young man called Dan Aziz. Check him out. Currently the light heavyweight English champion.
And I'd also like to see, there's some good fights out for Dan, There's some good fights out for him. So
yeah, definitely. He's knocking on the door. I said it on one of our shows. You're gonna have somebody's gonna have to come and see him.
I tell you what a good fight would be Shakan Pitters versus Dan Aziz.
Good fight. Good fight. I'll put Dan in with everyone, to be honest with you. Dan's a good fighter, solid fighter, good trainer in Brian O'Shaughnessy. Yeah. And Dan knows we're family anyway, so I wish him all the best.
Naz A says people think Hagler was just a baller, but he had a real good boxing IQ, had a beautiful jab. 1,000,000% he had a beautiful jab. I'm telling you, Hagler was a very, very good boxer, man. Very good boxer. And he worked on the free twitch motion, because he'd be like, bop, 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 and then something's going to come at you.
Yes.
Something's going to come at you, and he'd be just there in front of you. He'd go left, right, left, pop. Then he'd turn from Southpaw to orthodox, and he'll box. He's a really very complete boxer.
And you know what I just saw there? That's how I'm back on it, Spence. He clapped Mugabe with 3 hooks and a left-right. And if you go and watch that clip we just showed of Minter, it's the same sequence. 3 right hooks and a left-right. And I just see that.
Left-right, they licked Minter with that, dazed him up vicious.
But I just know that.
This is Minter, bloody hell.
I just literally saw that from those 2 clips, bam, 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 then bam, bam. And I know there'll be many fighters in the gym tomorrow practicing that sequence, because dangerous sequence. But yes, Hagler definitely had a great boxing IQ. And he weren't just it's that people, they forget the brilliance of Mike Tyson and think him just a knockout puncher. These guys are students of the game.
Trust me. Boxing 84 said, would love to have seen Hagler versus Canelo, Prime versus Prime. 2 guys willing to put it all on the line.
I ain't saying nothing about
that. Hagler with a punch up Canelo. How about that one?
I'm not even gonna disrespect Hagler in his birthday, but in his
I'm now that Hagler with a punch up Canelo.
Yeah. But just different eras. I always think that you shouldn't even do that, because it's eras. One's the best of his era, and one arguably is the best of their era. So it is what it is. But it's a good fantasy matchup. Definitely.
Fantasy matchup would have been Canelo versus Bernard Hopkins.
Yeah, I would have liked to see that. Both of them in a prime. Bobby Wright says, I think that's a tough fight for Shaq. Against Dan. Well, listen, it's boxing, man. These kids have got to fight each other sometime. Boxing Barry, great support of us. He says, great show tonight, lads. Thanks. Yes, sir.
Always sharing our stuff on Instagram and on social media. So thank you very much, Boxing Barry, man. Big up yourself.
Definitely. And I think Spence, great way to wrap it up because you know, again, you know, we always respond quickly when any events happen suddenly in the sport of boxing, and we're always the first to come out and really just pay respects, just like we did for Hugh Curry and now for marvelous Marvin Hagler.
It's the right thing to do.
And it's the right thing to do, absolutely. So yeah, I feel we've done our bit tonight.
1,000,000%, man.
And you can get back to the kids, and I can get back to eating this food and go in bed.
Yeah.
But thanks for everyone.
Remember, next time on, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have my stamina for sale water because it's very important for me to have the stamina for sale water and the stamina for sale mask as well, the face mask. Because they're promoting them. We got our own platform to promote the thing. You know what I mean? But that one's
it's
really
stick up fam. Yeah, I do remember you can get the merchandise on staminaforsale.com. It's all there.
Yeah, man. 100%. Yeah. So thanks for everyone that's been commenting on the show. Big up Kurt Campbell, Boxing 84 Boxing, Stephen, big up. There's all these things are coming out. So I'm just missing out all the names. But seriously, I'm missing all the names up on here. But for everyone who was on here, thank you very much. It's been a great, great show. Tunde ends in closing, and he says this.
You know what it is. Wait a minute. Dream it, believe it, become it.
Come on down. Thank you so much for everyone who's been on there. Thanks for Colin McMillan. Thanks for you guys for tuning in. I mean, let's never, ever forget the late, great, marvelous Marvin Hagler. Yes, Peace, good fingers, we're out.